Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. We have two um, bourbon concoctions, I guess you call it. This one I had addressed years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. It's 10 High Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey, a blend. Bottled by Bourbon Distilling Company, Owensboro, Kentucky, Bardstown, Kentucky, Los Angeles, California. So they have bottling plants all around. 40% alcohol. Sour mash. There's Hiram Walker. That's where this started. Standing on the barrel. Well, standing on the ground with his foot cocked up on a barrel, holding a glass of whiskey. It says established 1879. Not 10 High, but Hiram Walker. That company was bought out by, and I think there was still a Hiram Walker distillery in Canada, and somebody bought it and they changed the name, something else. All right, or it might have been dismantled. I think I read that it was dismantled in 1991. So it was like, but they said the equipment was so old that it wasn't worth, renovating it, that he just tore it down. I believe that's what happened, 91 or 92. 51% straight whiskey, 4 years or more old, and 49% grain neutral spirits. Okay. This is going to be a weird video. It's a cream colored cap. Okay. Let me update the notes. 10 High, a blend. I think it was introduced in 2009, but I don't have definitive information on that. Kentucky. Sour mash. Bourbon. Blended bourbon whiskey. Bottled in Kentucky and California. Go in alphabetical order. California and Kentucky. Age 4 years. Aged 4 years. All right, now the competitor is 10 High, America's native spirit, sour mash. But this one doesn't say Kentucky whiskey. It just says bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. So if you notice carefully, nowhere does it say it's distilled in Kentucky. It just says bottled in Kentucky. So where's this whiskey coming from? I would think it's probably some inexpensive bourbon. Whoa. Inexpensive bourbon from Indiana at Midwest Grain Products, because they told me at Sazerac at Barton Distilling in Barton 1792 Distillery, when they used to give tours, the girl told me that they did buy their grain spirits from Midwest Grain Products. And Midwest Grain Products does produce a lot of, if you want to call it commodity whiskey. Okay. $14.99 at Total Wine and More. Bought this last week. That's the going price right now, $14.99. So if you pay more than that, you're probably not getting a good deal. You're not getting a good deal. Of course, it depends where you live. Sour mash. We know it's using a sour mash process, but once again, that could be from Indiana or Kentucky. And it's got this fine grains, like sandpaper finish on the paper label. It says bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. Bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. Oh, well, how about that? We love to hear from our customers, Sazerac.com. Well, you can look up Sazerac.com. You can call them on the phone. but you won't see this on their website. This is not listed. It used to be years ago before they revamped their website. And the funny thing about it, they would show both of these bottles, the two different types, which back then I thought was strange and I couldn't understand it. And then this, I call it the Eagle bottle, starts showing up. And I was like, there's got to be something different about it, you know? Or why do they have this Eagle bottle? But then I realized now they phased out that and they brought in that. But I kept thinking, I bet you somewhere I could track down the one I had originally bought. Can't stand when people say brought for bought. They'll say, I brought something at the store. And I said, no, you didn't bring it. You bought it. Scary that you hear people saying that. Anyway, I bought this one at Mathern's. I remember, oh, Mathern's. I knew I bought my first bottle there years ago. And it was the blend. So I went over there yesterday. Now, sure enough, they had this old design. Now, I had to be careful because when I was looking, the old design with the man on it, they had two types. One said, two of the bottles said bourbon whiskey, a blend, and then two other bottles said bourbon whiskey with natural flavors, edit. So I said they didn't even change the label at first. They just added that disclaimer. And then in front of those bottles was the I call it the Eagle bottle. And next to it in the handles was all the Eagle bottle. I said, well, boy, how about this? So these bottles been sitting there probably 10 years. It was covered with dust. I mean, it's so dusty. I said, look, it's so dusty. I had to come home. When I got home, I rinsed it with warm water and cleaned it off, wiped it off. But it wasn't damaged, and the label hasn't faded or being on the bottom shelf. I guess the shelf protected it from that fluorescent light fading the red label. But I got the one from the back anyway, you know, from the back of the shelf. When I bought it 6 years ago or something like that. Yeah, when I bought it 6 years ago, it was $9.99. I bought it yesterday. It's $9.99. $9.99. The price never changed. So remember, age at least 4 years. That's the straight whiskey. A blended whiskey is a must by law. A blended whiskey must, I'm talking about blended bourbon. Blended bourbon must contain at least 51% straight bourbon. It's allowed to have 49% grain spirits, unaged, raw whiskey that's never been barrel treated. You understand? Just a grain distillate, clear, odorless, colorless. And that's usually what the companies do because it's very inexpensive. You know, you're just filling it with unaged spirits, and the flavor is going to come from the grain, the bourbon whiskey, or with flavoring added. You say, wait a minute, flavoring added. If you look at the regulations, they're very clear. They're not confusing unless you rush through them and you don't pay attention. The regulations state that American, well, it has to be American, it's bourbon. Blended can't get this right. Blended bourbon is allowed to have natural flavors added and coloring added, and they do not have to disclose it. Look at those three things. Allowed to have natural flavor added, allowed to have coloring added, do not have to disclose those facts. How do you like that? Now, this one discloses the fact with natural flavors. Why is that? Because it doesn't say it's blended bourbon. It just say bourbon, sour mash bourbon, nothing about blended. It doesn't say straight bourbon, but on the other hand, there's no age statement. No age statement, which means what? If a whiskey has no age statement, it has to be at least what? 4 years old. It has to be at least what? 4 years old. No age statement. Now, some guy did a video last year and he was reading off the bottleneck and it said an age statement, but this clearly has no age statement on the bottleneck. Just has Maine and Vermont refund 15 cents, Iowa refund 5 cents, showing if you bring the bottle back. Louisiana refund 0 cents. Okay. So there we go. Nice looking label, plastic bottle, not that great. Plastic is kind of funk looking, but I don't believe in the theory that it hurts the product. I think the PET, the plastic, that this type of plastic, polyethylene tie, whatever it's called, the plastics industry is advanced, built-in pour too, advanced, and they know how to do things without it leaching in and making it taste bad. But I mean, the glass looks nice, so I'm not going to say it doesn't look nice. It does, but the plastic's fine. I'll be fine with it. I will not stress out over that. Amber. Here I am opening up the 10 high former recipe, but you can still find it as evidenced by the fact that I found it yesterday. Wouldn't be easy to find. It was for me, but it may not be for you. And in your case, it may be impossible to find. Now, some people might be saying, why would I even want to find it? Okay, you got me there. All right. So they're both sour mash, and they're both bottled in Kentucky, and they're both owned by Sazerac, and they're both 80 proof. But beyond that, they're really not the same. Okay, let me update that. I forgot to put the proof in the notes. Both are 80 proof. 80 proof, sour mash whiskeys bottled in Kentucky by Bourbon Distilling, who was bought by Sazerac in the year 2009. So Barton, when you see Barton, you mean Sazerac. When you see Buffalo Trace, you mean Sazerac, because Sazerac bought Buffalo Trace. What, in 1992? They changed the name to Buffalo Trace. No, they bought it before that, right? 1990. They changed the name to Buffalo Trace in 92, right? Wasn't it called Shinley Industries Distillery? I guess Sazerac figured that doesn't really, sound that wonderful. Shinley Industries Distillery. And anyway, Shinley didn't own it anymore, so why keep that name? It's owned by Goldring. I don't think they wanted to call it William Goldring Distillery. Nobody used to think that lead pipes were bad either. That's true. The Romans thought it was fine for running water. The Romans got their drinking water from lead pipe water pipes. Not a good thing. All right, so yeah, maybe one day I'll be proven that the plastic is bad and deadly, and I made a terrible mistake. Well, it looks like the blended version is a little darker, but not by much. A little, just a slight shade darker amber. Let me even it out. Now, in the past, I did do some taste challenges with the blended Barton, the blended 10 high against some other ones that I had. Like I did 10 high versus benchmark, so I don't need to do that again. I did 10 high versus Jim Beam. Don't need to repeat that. I did 10 high versus I think it was 4 of them that I currently have. So I'm just gonna check my notes so I don't repeat it. I don't really feel like repeating it, Now the new 10 high, the one from the last 5 years, 6 years, I think it's 6 years. The new 10 high, or at least it was beginning to be phased in 6 years ago. I haven't done any taste challenges with that one. So the question today is, can I tell them apart? It'll be difficult. Will one be better than the other? It's possible. Now, somebody might say blended bourbon. That's not real bourbon. No, actually, it is real bourbon. It's just a type of bourbon. Doesn't mean you have to like it. Doesn't mean you have to buy it. But it is a real bourbon. It's just a different class of it, a legal type of bourbon. So when you start hearing that kind of talk, you might want to put on the snob. Your snob alert might go off. The snob alert. You say, well, people have a right to be a snob. They certainly have a right to be a snob. It's their right. Be a snob. It's fine. But I noticed that a lot of times they'd be incorrect in their snobbiness. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like your facts are wrong, though. You know, that's if your facts are right, then that's fine. Not hurting me, especially since your interests don't conflict with my interests. If you want to drink only the best whiskey on the planet and spend all that kind of money, that's fine with me. I'm sure it's fine with the companies. I don't even take issue with it. I'm not jealous of it. But if you're going to start snobberizing the whiskey world, at least have the facts right. Now, once you got the facts right, you can do what you want, baby. But to say it's not a real bourbon it's factually incorrect. It's not an opinion. It's just you're wrong. It's like somebody told me, and he's very snobby about it, which I don't care. He tells me, oh, those aren't true whiskeys. Talking about blended whiskeys like Seagram's Seven Crown or Seagram's VO from Canada. You know, Seagram's VO. He said those are not true whiskeys. I could name the guy. Some of y'all know who it is, but I don't feel like getting into that. Once again, factually incorrect. Blended whiskey is definitely a type of whiskey. You don't have to like it. Don't like it. If you don't like it, don't drink it. Simple as that. But to say it's not a true whiskey, it'd be like saying, oh, adjunct lager, that's not a real beer. They got people that believe that. Yeah, they believe it. They're like, in their mind, they think, oh, Budweiser is not a real beer because it has rice in it. That's objectively wrong. What you're saying is incorrect. It's factually incorrect. It'd be like saying Pearl Harbor was bombed in 1942. Okay, you have opinions about the attack. Most people do. But to say something, you know, be correct in what you're saying. Be correct with with the facts. All right, so we have that all set out. These are all true products. They're not fake. You know, I didn't say they were good. I didn't say they were high quality. They're low end. That's pretty obvious. They're so cheap. We get that. But they're real. Somebody might say, I got you there because you said it, the 10 high with the eagle on it, I call it the eagle bottle, is a bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. That's illegal. So it's not a real product. No, it is a real product. Okay. You better check yourself because I'm going to bring in the regulations and you're going to get caught in your own trap because you're trying to show me up, but you don't know the regulations. Okay. So be careful. You need to read your stuff. Kind of like when we did the video about is Jack Daniels a bourbon. They couldn't prove me wrong. First of all, I wouldn't even made the video if I thought I could have been wrong. You understand? I'm not gonna make a video where I could be wrong. So I already knew Jack Daniels was a bourbon. And you could almost say that the video was a setup. It was a setup in a sense because I already knew. I knew the answer. So when the other people came talking about, oh, well, it's not a bourbon, I said, why you say that? So then I knew what they were going to say. You know, I know what they're going to say beforehand. So I was like, well, actually, and then I got it corrected them. It wasn't to show people up. It wasn't to humiliate anybody. It was no purpose in that. The purpose was to answer that question that keeps coming up. Because you got people all the time. You hear them every day on the internet talking about, oh, well, this is not a bourbon because it's a Tennessee whiskey. Got nothing to do with it. Okay. Whether it's from Tennessee or not, it was irrelevant to whether it's a bourbon. Okay. All of fire, smiling. Okay, let's go. I mixed them up well. I got it all established. I think I cleared it up. Some people are thick-headed. You know, you can tell them, but they're still not gonna believe it. You know. But then they'd be willfully, what you would call like willfully disobedient. You know what I mean? Like just in the face of the facts, still be willfully oppositional about it. Well, I can't help that. Okay. Smell like corn grits. You say, well, it's bourbon. What do you think it's going to smell like? Yeah, corn grits. Okay. Now, it smells like corn grits here with a little sugar. Does Sazerac go buck wild with their flavorings? They don't seem to. They seem to be kind of careful, but if you were a kind of person that takes issue with flavoring being added and you refuse to drink a whiskey with flavoring added, I would not take issue with that. Why would I? It's a personal preference thing. It'd be like saying, oh, what's the right way to drink coffee, with sugar or without? There is no right way. Although I talk to some people that will believe that. These people don't know how to drink coffee. I'm like, they don't know how to drink it. They have an amazing view, amazing perspective. Like my neighbor across the street making the statement that women who drink white Zinfandel wine don't know how to drink wine. I'm still flabbergasted by that comment. That's just exactly verifies what I'm talking about right now. They don't know how to drink wine. And then she said when she goes to the restaurant with her friends and they order white Zinfandel, she's embarrassed. Like she wants to put her head down and she's embarrassed that the waiter hears this or the waitress. I'm like, really? Good morning, Jay. 10 high is awesome, says Jean Pierre. Absurd comments. That's a good word. Absurdity. It's an absurd comment. Okay. So here we go. The old 10 high versus the new 10 high. And I do not have the original 10 high, which was a straight sour mash Kentucky bourbon whiskey. Okay. So it was Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey of the sour mash variety, aged, I believe, 4 years. Could I find a bottle of that? Oh, you could probably find a bottle. Something before 2009. I'm sure they got bottles somewhere in the United States hanging around on a store shelf from pre-2009. But it's not going to be easy to track it down. Would it be worth it? Well, it might be worth it if you want to check it out. Almonds. Almonds and vanilla. It'd be like trying to track down Four Roses blended whiskey. That was on the market for decades. Decades. Four Roses blended whiskey. They made millions of bottles a year, I think, or at least hundreds of thousands. There's got to be some of those bottles on some liquor store shelf somewhere. Is it anything great? Well, if it was great, they would have kept it, right? And not replaced it with the straight Four Roses. But it's one of those things, you still want to find it. Okay, so that's vanilla, almonds, generalized corn, which makes total sense because that's what it mostly is. Both of these are corn whiskeys of the bourbon variety. All right, now, how about that? Now over here, you get the corn whiskey, you get a little charred oak, but you get a lot of grain neutral spirits. Now, I know what you might say, and I can understand a person saying this. You might say, wait a minute, you said grain neutral spirits were flavorless and odorless. Overall, yes, they are in that sense, but they're not totally that way. You understand? The intention is for grain neutral spirits to be neutral, no odor, no flavor. But if you get some, if you buy it, you can buy it. It's going to have some vague corn. They don't have to be made out of corn. Any grain will work, but usually it's almost always corn because that's the most common grain in the USA. It'll have this. You'll have this perception of corn with it, but there's no aging on it. It does come across as raw spirits. And this one has that. It's not an offensive flavor really, but it's just yeah. Here you get nuttiness like not almonds, but this time you get like pecans or walnut. It's weird. And then you get this corn thing, this neutral corn thing. It reminds me of a lot of those doggone Heaven Hill blended whiskeys. But they're really weird because they have this like honeydew melon thing going with them, which it's hard to get past that. I saw some of that Heaven Hill blended stuff Saturday. It was called Kentucky Gold. I said, look at it. Kentucky Gold showing up in right next to New Orleans in Metairie, Louisiana. I said, it ain't going to be in my house again. I'm not buying that stuff again. But there it was on the shelf, all proud. The gold. You'd hate to see the silver or the bronze, boy. Ooh wee. Now, I don't think these taste alike at all. Okay. I think the 10 high with bourbon, sour mash bourbon with natural flavors is a lot better. Yes, it is illegal to add flavor to bourbon. But it's not really illegal. Okay, so I won't get into that today, but it's sort of like it's not allowed, except that it is allowed. And I have some right there on that desk. So these laws, you gotta really look into them carefully, and then you'll get a better perspective of what isn't allowed and what really is allowed. It's comical in a way. Okay. I think the Barton, they're both Barton. What am I saying? I think the 10 high with flavoring is better. And I'll tell you what. That vanilla flavor, that whatever extract they're using, it could just be vanilla extract. I don't know what they add. Tastes like that. There could be just sugar that they're adding, but I don't know why sugar would taste like vanilla. That's a little weird. But maybe the you get vanilla from the barrel, the oak, charred oak. It's just smoother, nicer, a little bit more flavor. Now this one over here, it's just kind of got that ethanol thing going, like corn, alcohol, corn spirits, just like grits, corn grits. Oh yeah, like grits, say some white hominy grits, or okay, you want to get yellow grits. You can buy the yellow grits at the store, at the stove. You can buy a can of white hominy and yellow hominy. It's from Bush's, people make the beans, but that has salt added, you see. But think of it with no salt. Think of yellow grits, and you heated them up with the water, but you added no salt. You say, but I would be so bland. Who would eat it? That's right, nobody. But that's what this tastes like. Okay, so I'm going to say this is the 10 high previous, the 2009 to 2017 edition, something like that. Tastes all right. I wouldn't be running out to buy it, although I ran out to buy it. But I ran out to buy it for scientific reasons. I didn't run out to buy it because I wanted to drink it. You understand? It's burning me chest. It's burning me chest. Okay. That is the 10 high flavored. I just noticed. This has got me very perplexed. So you're telling me this is the blended one? Golly gee. Well, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think I poured them in the wrong. You say you're a drunk. You just want to drink more. That's incorrect. I want to make sure I'm right. I got to get this straight. I'm just going to pour a little touch. Not to mention I'm trying to save it. Because they don't taste alike at all. So one has got that sweet dessert-like taste, and the other one, like a sweet dessert. Some of you eat after lunch or dinner or supper. This one, it just had that corn base thing. All right, so here we go. Sorry, y'all. Yeah. Can't figure it out. I don't want to do it till I pass out, but you know what I'm saying? I can't figure it out. Like Fleetwood Mac said, it's a mystery to me. um, no, no. I had it right. I was careful when I poured them. You know, you saw me looking. Wow, mind blown, shocked, stunned, disoriented, cognitive dissonance. Well, holy smokes. I'm not going to worry about it because, after all, it is a taste challenge. We can't guarantee we're going to get it right, but I was convinced. So, whew, yikes, blimey. So it is the blended that has the better flavor. So they deteriorated. So now I've determined they've deteriorated the product by adopting the new protocol. Oh, wow. I'm not going to say it was bad, though. You know, I'm not saying that. It's just, they brought it down a little. It's declined. You say, oh, well, who the heck cares? 10 High is such a low volume product for Sazerac. It's not going to make any kind of measurable or appreciative impact on the liquor world. You've got that correct. Now that there is no doubt about that. There's not 10 people in the whole on the whole planet Earth that's give a hoot about 10 High whiskey, including the people of Sazerac. So I get that, but it does exist, and that's why I checked it out. And so, yeah, you could buy it. It's so inexpensive anyhow. $14.99. You get a whole handle. I shared a full bottle of it with my friend David. I said, "Yeah, you can have 750 milliliters of it." Well, he was like, "Yay!" He liked that idea. Now, but well, okay. So the blended is better. Now I got to do this tournament with the 10 High blended versus all the other bourbons I have, and I have a feeling it's going to do all right from what I tasted this morning. Not going to dominate by any means. It's not going to run away with the program, but it's going to do all right. And I wish they hadn't changed it, but they did change it, and that's the situation at hand. So from what I saw at that store yesterday, is that a sign that 10 High is not popular? Yeah. When I see bottles from years ago, the old recipe mixed in with the new, and with the thing covered with dust, that's telling me there's been no action on it. No action on it. Walmart dropped the doggone stuff. It used to be a Walmart over here. You look on the website now, they got nothing. I went over there, got nothing. So Walmart didn't want it in the store. Been on the market since 1934. 10 High. Been on the market since 1934. And basically never made much of an impact. And that's just how some of these products are. They're around, but they're not renowned. Around, but not renowned. And that is the truth. So thanks for watching. And well, now it's going to be, I am excited in a way. I'm going to do the 10 High blended against all the other bourbons I have. And then when I do that, finished it, which take a little while, then I'm going to circle around, and I'm going to do the 10 High flavored bourbon with natural flavors against all the ones. And we'll see what happens. It's going to be quite interesting. And then finally, it'll be back to brandy. And brandy's been so neglected, and it's really a shame. But back to that. All right, y'all take care now.